welcome back to Ceiling Plays Gyakuten Live. We are finally starting the trial to see who the culprit is, cause Karin is framed, if you will, if I remember correctly. Anyway, May 13th, 11:48 a.m., defendant lobby. It's been 2 months since I was last here for a trial, but it feels like it's only been a few days. I don't think I'll ever get used to this feeling of dread. My opponent being Daya-san doesn't make things any easier for me. This will certainly be my toughest challenge yet. Great, we're dead. Why so glum? This should be fun, jolly game of court, right? Maybe. Even though this isn't a real trial, I can't be slacking. These trials get broadcast for the whole world to see. I've got to at least try to show that Nijigasaki can stand up to Urano Hoshi. Deep breaths, Yu-chan. That's what Shuto-san always tells me to do before a photo shoot. Come on, Yu-chan, you've got this. You're going to put Daya-san in her place today.
Are you sure about that?
I don't know if... Repeat after me. I, Takasaki Yu, shall overcome all opposition in court today. Shall overcome... I can't do it. No good. Sucks. It's fine. I thank you for the encouragement, though. Oh, I know. I'll hold your hand during the trial so you won't be afraid. Appreciated, but not necessary. That said, I do have a nagging desire to find the truth. Who really printed those tickets? What did they want with them? Where are the tickets now? And why did they make it look like Karin-san did it? If nothing, this drive is one of the things that's keeping me going. Yes, that's it. That's what I'm aiming for. May 13th, noon, the courtroom. I am so scared. Court is now in session for the trial of Asaka Karin. The defense is ready, Your Honor. Prosecution, are you prepared to present your opening statement? Nijigasaki, Otonokazaka, Urano Hoshi. There can only be one. The pinnacle is not a position that can be shared. Oh, here we go. Of course I'm prepared. That isn't even a question. The better question is, how long can you, Takasaki Yu-san, manage to stay in the game before collapsing like a house of cards? And why do you have a sword? That's a little threatening to be in the courtroom, but okay. I think my eardrums will collapse in on themselves listening to you before anything else. Well, whenever you're ready, prosecution, the stage is yours. Certainly, it's time for the beginning of the end, my dear gallery. I regret to inform you, but today your precious Nijigasaki of 6,102 students shall bow down before Urano Hoshi, which has fewer than 100. That much is certain. Today I will prove not only that the defendant, Karin Asaka, is guilty of this crime, but also the veracity of quality over quantity. Just give the damn opening statement already. The incident occurred on May 11th during the Nijigasaki School Idol Club's practice session. There was a break that lasted from 4 to 4:30. It is believed that the crime occurred during this time. The suspect, Asaka Karin, is believed to have taken opportunity to traverse to the printing room to print an unauthorized pair of VIP tickets. And that ridiculously mundane crime is why I'm here today. The prosecution shall prove without a shadow of doubt that Asaka Karin is the one responsible for this incident. Acknowledged. Are you aware of any possible motives? We have. After a minor background check, it was discovered that the defendant works with 2 producers for her job. The current belief is that the tickets were printed to be given to them. Wow, Yu-chan, you were right on the money when you said that the prosecution would dig that info up. Rats, and the producers told me that giving them the tickets is probably not against Karin-san's contract. Prosecution, what evidence do you have that ties the defendant to the crime? Now, I have to give credit where it's due. I didn't find the smoking gun for a case. The former prosecutor with the humorously but delightfully oversized bow in her hair was the one that found it. She must be talking about Shizuku-chan. In that case, their smoking gun is Karin-san's cell phone, right? I think so. Rina-chan did say that the phone was what got Karin-san nabbed. Unfortunately, since our bowhead isn't involved with this case anymore, I shall pass the responsibility of explaining the find to my amusingly yet adorably small detective. Very well. Usually this is when the prosecution asks for the witness's name and occupation. Quiet, it might be able to hear us. Huh? Everyone remain calm. Our detective seems to have been possessed by an evil mechanical menace. What? You lot call the military. The robot on her face is no match for a tank. Meanwhile, I shall heroically remove the parasitic device using my katana. Minor lacerations may result, but is unavoidable. Oh, don't worry. It's just my Rina-chan board. Come again, Rina-chan, what now? I made it myself. It's a device that helps me show my true feelings, which I'm not very good at. Sorry. It's got all these features, but the main thing is a bunch of programmed facial expressions that help everyone to understand my emotions. Don't worry though, it can't hurt you. I see. In here I thought the notebook was as peculiar as it could get. Anyway, you were called upon to present the evidence you found. Are you ready? I am. Shall we begin? Witness testimony. What was found? An email was sent out on the day of the crime. It said that there were more VIP tickets than available VIP tickets. Shizuku-chan was the one who first noticed it. She concluded it meant that someone had printed out VIP tickets without notifying anyone. We managed to narrow down the time of the tickets being printed to between 4 and 4:30, which was during the practice break. The defendant's phone was concluded to have been left in that room around the same time the tickets were printed. She must have done it so with her ID on her phone. This places the defendant in the printing room at the time of the crime, and since a club member's ID is required to print the tickets, it couldn't have been anyone outside of the club. So in essence, there are only a handful of people who have the clearance to print VIP tickets. And the only person of the small group that had the opportunity to print the tickets was the defendant. Understood? That's right. Is there anything else I should go over? Actually, I do have one question. Earlier you said that you narrowed down the time of the crime to between 4 and 4:30. How did you know that? It's like this. See? The computer systems constantly check whether there are an excess number of tickets. For efficiency, it only checks it every half hour. The emails were sent out at 4:30 on the day of the crime. That means the tickets must have been printed out within that previous half-hour interval. Although, since everyone was just getting back into practice at the time, nobody really noticed at the email until Shizuku-chan did the next day. I don't really care enough for that stuff to open that system email. What about you? To be fair, I don't think any of us really paid attention to that email. I'm glad we have someone on top of things like Shizuku-chan then. Listening to that testimony, it seems sound, but all they provided is circumstantial evidence so far. There are a few gaps I can see here. But at the same time, perhaps they're just getting warmed up. Daya-san wouldn't be foolish enough to leave such a void in her case, right? Cross-examination. What was found? I am scared. Okay, this might be a stupid plan, but I'm gonna press everything. Can you clarify what this means for the rest of the court? Of course, the data for the tickets is stored in the school's database. See? The computers keep track of how many VIP seats there are versus how many VIP tickets are in circulation. If the number of tickets exceeds the number of seats, an email will be sent to all of our club members, warning us of the problem. And that's how we find out that the VIP tickets were printed. If the threshold hasn't been exceeded, we would never have known. Thank you for your explanation. Does anyone have any objections to this statement? I do. My objection is that this school is over-engineered to the point of selflessness, and these implications are the reason for your downfall. Whatever happened to good old-fashioned walk up to someone and ask them face-to-face? That's what we do, and it'd be a million times simpler. Because you guys all live within walking distance of each other. If Karin-san drew a map of your little rural neighborhood, it'd be actual size. Would there be a possibility for another explanation for the computer system's behavior? Let's see, the only other way I can think of is if the number of VIP seats was reduced somehow within the relevant time interval. You, Sana, you didn't secretly lower the number of seats by 2 during the break, right? Then that make you the culprit. No. If you did, I'll make sure to come back and tear you apart. Kami, help whoever decides to take your case on her. Kami, help me get out of this situation. To reiterate, you know that because of the interval in which the email was sent out, right? That's right, the system checks for VIP tickets going over this threshold every 30 minutes, and the email was sent out at 4:30, meaning that the tickets must have been printed out in the interval before it, that is, between 4 and 4:30. And that interval exactly overlaps with our break time. A very bad look for Karin-san. And how did you figure that out? I wasn't the one who figured that out. Daya-san did. Daya-san, I'll pass you the mic. All eyes are on you. My friends, nothing a little intuition couldn't solve. Intuition? Allow me to present the defendant's phone. She had misplaced it in the printing room until it was located by the one named Osaka Suzuku-san. Like any self-respecting mobile phone user, her phone had a lock screen. That means we can't open her phone to verify most of the things that she was doing with it. However, any notifications she receives are displayed on the lock screen itself for all to see, including the time she received them. The defendant seems to be quite the popular person. She's got a multitude of missed calls and messages from Emma Shuto-sana, as well as the emails sent out by the computer systems about the VIP tickets. The earliest notifications were sent to her phone around 4:20. That means she must have lost her phone in the printing room at or slightly before this time. Hang on a second, that doesn't explain enough. Let's see, even though I'm aware that Karin-san lost her phone in the printing room at the time of the crime, this is where the case has gaps. If there's anything I can object to, it's this. So far, all you established is that Karin-san had a bunch of unread notifications, and her phone appeared to be found in the printing room. But there is the possibility that the defendant simply didn't read the notifications and lost the phone in there after the crime. How did you rule that out? You must have not had the high opinion of me. Let's correct that, shall we? Huh? I wasn't finished. I can think of at least 2 other reasons the phone must have been left there at the time of the crime. 2 more? No interruptions, defense. I'm currently in the middle of raining on your parade, and I'm about to send you a hurricane. Number 1, the battery level. The battery level? I have researched to make an end model of the defendant's cell phone. I know the battery capacity, idle drain rate, and factored in the battery level that the phone was at when it was discovered. In addition, among the plethora of notifications we could see on the lock screen was a low battery warning. That pops up when a certain percentage of the battery is left, and we have the timestamp of that as well. My calculations indicate that these 4 factors align perfectly if we consider that the phone was never used since the time of the crime. Number 2, the fingerprints on the phone, or lack thereof. You checked for fingerprints? I might not have access to any databases for fingerprints, like your fancy little clubroom door handles, but there are still a few things someone like I can do. Namely, I can tell that the phone was almost completely devoid of fingerprints. And your conclusion from that is, phones nowadays use touchscreens. You have to use your fingers to navigate the menus and whatnot. That is true. But during the time of the crime, the defendant was in her idol outfit. Her idol outfit includes gloves. That further supports the notion that the defendant had lost her phone in the printing room at the time of the crime. She had gloves on during that interval. With gloves like those, you'd be leaving a negative number of fingerprints, meaning even previous prints wouldn't be wiped off. If she still had her phone with her when she left the printing room that day, you would have found fingerprints on it, but since it doesn't, the last time she must have had her phone was during the time and place of the crime. I've given you a total of 3 exhibits now: the notifications, the battery level, and the fingerprints. And I would like to remind the court that the tickets were printed out right around the time the phone was lost, in the printing room. Please draw your own conclusion from that. This woman does not mess around. Oh, that was the roughest beating I've seen since Shiriko-chan took out Nana-san in the elections. And she found all of that out without a magical Fuda. How am I supposed to fight her? Come on, you believe in Karin-san. If she was telling the truth, then you have to find a way around this. Can you clarify what you mean by that? Let's see, how do I put this into words? To print something in the printing room, a student or staff member must use their Nijigasaki Virtual ID, which is an app you can download on your phone. Without your Virtual ID, you won't be able to get any further than turning the printer on it. You need it to actually start printing stuff. However, the VIP tickets are special. To print them, your ID needs a match of a School Idol Club members. Basically, only our club members can print them. The thing is, all available club members were at practice around the time of the crime. There are other printers on campus capable of printing the VIP tickets, but the only one close enough to the practice room that you can make a round trip to within the break time is the one in hallway 306. How big is this damn school? Wasn't the break half an hour long? In a nutshell, all the people who possibly could have committed the crime were conglomerated in around hallway 306 at the time of the crime. We know that the crime must have happened in the printing room on hallway 306, and the defendant is the only person who appears to have gone to the printing room at the time. It lines up with what we know. I don't think I have any room for an argument here. I've heard enough. The prosecution has thoroughly demonstrated the defendant's role in this incident. I think the truth is becoming increasingly clear. Huh? That's it? We did nothing. Pity. I thought I told you to give me a good challenge. Alas, you failed me. No matter, this trial will be in my fond memories as the shortest and easiest case I've won. Hang on, this isn't over yet. Don't be ridiculous. I've left no room for error. If you really want to drag this trial out for a final few precious moments, you have to show us why, with evidence. You, China, do you really have something up your sleeve? Honestly, no. I've got to try. It can't just end like this. Come on, I'm backed into a corner. I've got to turn this around somehow. Defense, if you have any evidence to present, now would be the time. Yes, Your Honor, right away. I don't have to prove Karin-san innocent immediately. I just need to cast enough reasonable doubt on the prosecution's claims. Even if it's just to move a goalpost and force the prosecution to prove another thing, it's better than nothing. I've got to reveal an angle that the prosecution hasn't considered. Although the prosecution has proven that my client went to the printing room, this will recontextualize the whole situation. I don't know what I'm supposed to present here. Maybe her homework assignment? We could try. I would like the members of the court to look at this. This is the defendant's homework assignment due on the day of the crime. Why do you have that? Are you cheating? Academic disintegrity is grounds for suspension. Please stop talking like Shuto-san. No, my client had intended to try to submit it to her instructor late. And the relevance of this is, the prosecution is claiming that the defendant must have entered the printing room to print the VIP tickets. That's the basis for their entire case right now. But say there was an alternate explanation. For example, if the defendant went into the printing room to print not the VIP tickets, but instead her homework. That would perfectly explain why she was in the printing room. And just like that, the case turns in our favor. Well done, you, China. You managed to escape the pickle barrel. I've managed to what the what? A meaningless exercise. You realize this changes nothing, correct? The defendant printing out her homework makes no difference. It is a trivially easy matter for her to simply have printed both the tickets and her homework in the same visit to the printing room. She's not wrong, right? Wait, no, she's wrong. Sorry to say, prosecution, but this actually changes everything. All you've shown so far was the defendant happened to be present around the place and time of the crime, with no definitive proof. I'd say there's enough reasonable doubt. If you now want to claim that the defendant printed two sets of items, then it's on you to prove that she actually did so. Order! Order! Not bad. You managed to see through my bluff. Looks like you have some fight in you after all. Ha! Take that, miss. I studied a blader. I'm impressed that you managed to find that information. Naturally, I knew about it as well, but I felt it wouldn't matter, as the defendant could easily have printed the tickets and the homework together. But if my task now is to further show how the defendant could have been only the possible culprit, then so be it. We'll start by narrowing the time down. Witness, please testify about the defendant's motions around the time of the crime. Let's do it then. Witness testimony, narrowing the time down. According to the clubroom access records, the defendant went to the clubroom once at 4:05 and once again at 4:20. The defendant needs to get a flash drive or something to print her homework, so you can reasonably deduce that she went to the clubroom at 4:05 to get it. You can then reasonably deduce that she probably went back to the clubroom at 4:20 to drop her homework and VIP tickets off. Therefore, she must have gone to the printing room between 4:05 and 4:20. Since the printing room is only a step away from the clubroom, she most likely was there the whole 15 minutes. And according to the printer records, the printer was only used at 4:10 and no other timer. Say that again, printer records? Uh-oh, not this crap again. That's right, the printer in question has a minor log of when it gets turned on and used. That's all it says, though. It doesn't keep track of what gets printed and by whom, which is a good thing. Imagine if someone needed to print a private document. Karin-san's homework is technically a private document, you know, so that makes sense. Printer records added to the court record. The printer was turned on once at 4:10. It shuts off automatically after 1 minute of idle timer. One more thing, the printer shuts off by itself after 1 minute of inactivity to save power. That might help us with narrowing the time down. Another set of access records to ruin my life. I really wish they stopped pulling these out of nowhere. Don't look at me like that, defense. I don't think I would need to use this, but it's what I currently have. Unfortunately, the tickets themselves are still missing. Only the true culprit and Kami knows where they are now. So the tickets haven't turned up yet. From my understanding, the tickets themselves have a timestamp on them. If we had them, we know the exact time they were printed. However, if they do end up turning up, I have full confidence that the timestamp would corroborate my current stance. Well, no need for hypotheticals in this courtroom. We have to make do with what we have. Defense or cross-examination? We'll press everything. That seems like a good tactic. I've got those records as well. It looks like Karin-san was the only one who went to the club room. But in a previous case, we found out that the access records weren't always reliable. Someone could enter alongside her, and it wouldn't be logged. So I suppose that happened again. During questioning, the defendant made no mention of anyone entering alongside her, or anyone around the printing room at all. She had no reason to lie about this either, and her account of the events actually makes her look more suspicious. If anyone else was around, surely she would have mentioned it. Well, I can't say that doesn't make sense. Can you clarify what you mean by this? The VIP tickets data files are stored in the school's computer database, but a personal document like homework would obviously not be on there. That means that the user must provide the data file for the homework herself, for example by transferring it from a flash drive. Of course, since everyone's bags were in the clubroom during practice, the defendant had to have taken an extra trip to the clubroom to retrieve it. I think this is what Karin-san told me yesterday. Nothing out of place here, I guess. We don't know whether she had printed the VIP tickets. Where else could they be? They've completely vanished. We even looked through all the trash cans around the area and everything. Most likely she had dropped off the homework and tickets together and took them home. Unless we do a search of her dorm room, we can't know for sure. Where could those tickets be? 15 entire minutes? What could she have been doing for that long? Don't ask me, ask Karin-san herself. Maybe she spent some time figuring the printer out. It's not exactly a simple printer. Most people don't bother using that printer, you know. They think it's too big and unwidy, and usually use one of the other printers. I definitely need some time to figure out that needlessly complex contraption. What's wrong with a normal printer? In any case, I can't believe that the defendant had trouble using such a convoluted device. Don't you think so? 15 whole minutes in that room for that. Somehow that doesn't sit right with me. Please add this to your testimony, witness. Alright, I figured Karin-san was in that printing room for so long because she was inexperienced with using that intricate printer. What makes you say that? To be honest, I don't think many people use that particular printer. They generally stick with one of the smaller, simpler printers. The vinyl feature usually isn't relevant to most people's purposes, but since the VIP tickets are vinyl, she had to have used that printer if she printed the tickets. I imagine she wanted to kill two birds with one stone and just print both of her homework and the tickets on that one printer. Well, they're definitely right about Karin-san's choice of printer. The creased edge around her homework proves that she must have used the big white printer with the vinyl tray. I have no clue how to use that big lug of a device either, to be quite honest. Are you sure it was only ever used at 4:10 within the relevant time frame? That's right. Again, for privacy purposes, the record only shows the time the printer was used, not who used it or what was printed. But look, the time matches perfectly with the time that the defendant went into the printing room. See? It doesn't say who used it, so there's a chance it could have been someone else, right? We know for a fact that the defendant used the printer. In addition, the printer was only turned on once within the relevant interval of time. Not to mention, the printer shuts itself off after a period of time. The defendant, Asaka Karin-san, is the only one who could have had the opportunity to print the tickets. This isn't looking good. Sorry, Yu-chan, it looks like your worst nightmare is back with a vengeance. It's always access records this, printer records that. Is the court record gonna turn on me too? No, the court record is your friend. The evidence in it should be the key to your victory. Come on, I know you can do it. Okay, I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
A few minutes later.
Okay, we'll try the printer again, but different statement. Okay, thank you. According to the witness and prosecution, the printer is rarely used much by most students, and many have difficulty with using it. Is that correct? I believe so. That should include Karin-san, I think. Sorry, but I'll have to disagree. Huh? The thing is, the defendant is one of the few people who absolutely is not inexperienced with using this particular printer. Defense, please elaborate for the court. The defendant works as a model for an agency. She frequently partakes in photo shoots for magazines and the such. According to her, she has the affinity for printing out the photos she had taken of her. She likes keeping a collection, see? As far as photos go, she likes printing them not on paper, but on vinyl. So what you're saying is... That's right, this is the printer she usually uses to get her photos. It can hardly be said that Karin-san is inexperienced with this printer when she uses it on the regular for her photo printing collection. So the defendant knew how to use the printer. Clarify your point with this? You don't see where I'm getting at? I think it's pretty simple. It has to do with the timing. Since the defendant would not have the difficulty with the printer, there's going to a lot of time that's not accounted for. If it didn't take Karin-san that long to print her homework, then why was there 15 minutes of time between the two clubroom access record entries? It's enough time for a second person to have come and gone. That's the issue we need to figure out. Wrong. Desuwa? Wrong. Have you been paying attention to this trial at all? The printer records clearly state that the printer was only turned on and used once by one person during a relevant time interval. I say the defendant simply spent the 15 minutes goofing around. Your theory for a second printer user holds as much water as a thimble. So how did you intend to explain this? Why haven't the printer records turned up anyone else? Well, that's what we're trying to figure out. Wrong again, you foolish fool. That's what you're trying to find out. You need to explain this inconsistency since you're the one implying the existence of another printer user within that 15-minute time span. Well, she's not wrong. I need an explanation for this. If the printer was only turned on once, could there still have been a second user? And if so, how? Somehow this all feels awfully familiar. Well, defense, let's hear your explanation. How could there have been a second printer user if the printer records only logged one entry? I'm gonna guess the second option. You know what, this is my second case, not my first. 2 months ago, I ran into this exact issue. The possibility of someone accessing something without leaving a trace, even though there normally would be a log. Oh, I remember, you don't mean... Yes, it's just like back then, with the clubroom access records. Get to the point. If you can say something in one sentence, do so instead of wasting the court's time. Says you with your freaking motor mouth. When we had our case about the laced bread, Emma-san entered the clubroom and never left an entry, even though the clubroom's door handles kept track of everyone who enters. That was because Kasumi-chan happened to exit the room at the same time, thus Emma-san could enter the same clubroom without anyone else knowing. And so, it is the defense's belief that the same thing has happened here. 2 people use the printer with only one entry. The defense believes this warrants further investigation, don't you agree? Yes, the court agrees. We don't have enough info to make a ruling yet. Yes. No. No. The printer in question shuts off after 1 minute of idle time. That fact was submitted alongside the printer records. If what the defense is saying is true, that means someone had to have either used the printer 1 minute before the defendant did, or 1 minute after the defendant finished. However, there are no known club members who even began to approach the printing room around the relevant time, let alone within 1 minute of the defendant. No way. Well, what now? I'm not sure where to go from here. Don't worry, Yu-chan, I'm here to help. Huh? I've been working hard too. I want to provide my assistance wherever possible. While you were bantering with Dayo-san, I studied the printer specs again, and I found out that... Defense, what the hell is your aide giggling about? If you have something to say, share it with the court. Your Honor, we've got a new development that I think everyone needs to hear. What is it? According to the printer specs that Ayumu here just provided from the internet, 1 minute is the only default time that the printer is set to shut off after. But, say that the time was changed to 5 or even 10 minutes. That would be enough time for someone unknown to have come and gone within that huge 15-minute interval. Defense, you're putting me to sleep with how amateurish your performance is. You can't be serious. She's covered for this too. Don't underestimate me. Don't you think I haven't accounted for this situation? I have prepared for all possibilities in this universe and beyond. That's the Kurosawa way. I have already prepared a witness that can testify about this exact subject. No way! Order! Oh my, looks like that wasn't enough. Sorry, Yu-chan. Am I ever gonna get to have a leg up on her? This is ridiculous. The witness is already in the waiting lobby. She is ready to go at a moment's notice. The prosecution calls Mifune Shiriko-san to the witness stand. Very well. Bailiff, bring in the next witness to the stand. Witness, name and occupation, please. My name is Mifune Shiriko. I am the school council president and a member of the School Idol Club. Occasionally, I also volunteer at the children's center nearby, if that counts. Thank you. You were called upon due to your familiarity with the printers in the printing room. Do you have experience with the large white printer with the vinyl function? I do. What about it? We request that you testify about the printer's automatic turn-off feature. The defense believes that the time limit was set higher than the default limit of 1 minute. You are aware of the true time limit that it was set to, correct? Indeed, I'll get right on that. But I have something important to bring up first. The maintenance workers of the school just handed me something that's probably very important to the case. And that would be here. I'm sorry, what are those supposed to be? I can't read the text on those tiny things from over here. It's the VIP tickets. We found them under the printer. Wait, what? You found them? Goodness, even Diasan didn't see that one coming. Well, this is an unexpected development. I'd like to ask, the tickets have a timestamp on them, correct? What time did the tickets say they were printed? According to the tickets, they were printed at 4:15. I was right after all. That falls within the 15-minute interval that the defendant was in the printing room, like I said it would. VIP tickets added to the court record. Found hidden under the printer. Can only be printed by club members at the printing room. Were printed at 4:15 on the day of the crime. Another hurdle to try to overcome. Just my luck. In light of this development, please testify about the tickets and where you found them, in addition to the time setting on the printer. Understood. Witness testimony, tickets and the printer. The tickets were found wedged underneath the large white printer in question. I believe no one would ever have been able to find them. If it hadn't been for the fact that the printer was suffering mechanical issues, the maintenance team unbolted the printer for repairs and found the tickets there. The defendant must have not wanted to bring the tickets back to practice. It looks like she wanted to hide them in the printing room and come back for them later, but was unable to get them out. As for the time setting on the printer, I can confirm they were left on the default 1 minute before shutting off. I can tell you one thing, 1 minute is too small of a time frame for Karin-san to not have noticed anyone else around the printing room and to be able to share a printing session with them. So, can you elaborate on the last part? Allow me to summarize the point. During questioning, the defendant has said that she had never saw anyone coming from or going to the printing room. 1 minute's time is not enough for any potential second person to get far away from the printing room for her not to have noticed. If this so-called second person had any more time to get further away, the two of them would have not been able to share a printing session, as the printer would have shut off between them. The printer records would then be showing 2 entries, therefore the only explanation is that there never was a second person. That seems to make sense to me. How about you, defense? Are you ready to cross-examine the witness? Actually, I've got a question. The printer records state that the printer was turned on at 4:10. If it shuts off after 1 minute, how could the culprit stall until 4:15 to print it? Wouldn't it have shut itself off? The printer has a special quirk about it. If a flash drive is plugged into it, the printer takes much longer to shut off. I suppose that's because it thinks that you have a job for it to do, so it holds off on shutting down. Let me reiterate that the defendant is known to have brought a flash drive to the printing room. Not to mention, when the defendant was done with the printer, she must have taken her flash drive with her, meaning the printer would be back to its default 1 minute before shutting off. That means the defendant could have stalled within her printing activity, but not between hers and anyone else's. My odds are looking more terrible than ever. Please, I sure hope I can turn up some useful results here. Cross-examination. Oh my god. I'm just gonna do the usual. I thought the printer was bolted to the table. How is that possible? It's hard to tell, but the printer has a set of extremely short rubber legs. Normally they help prevent it from sliding around. But since ours is bolted to the table, they don't really do anything besides raise it up about 1 millimeter. Nonetheless, that tiny gap is enough space to slide in a pair of VIP tickets. Jury's out on how the culprit expected to retrieve them though. I hadn't noticed the gap. I suppose that checks out. If I recall correctly, that's because of the crease that the printer has been leaving on things it prints out, right? That's right, the printer's been having that issue for a while now. Naturally, the maintenance crew had to unbolt the printer from the table to perform repairs, and that's when they found the tickets. Part of me is glad that the tickets were found, and another part of me wishes they weren't. It's yet another piece of evidence against us. What makes you say that? Doesn't it make sense? If you secretly break a rule knowingly, you want to keep that fact hidden. I feel that it's just natural she tried to hide the VIP ticket somewhere before returning to practice. The defendant was in her idol outfit at the time. With how revealing it is and it lacks of pockets, it wasn't feasible for her to hide the tickets on her person. Isn't that the same thing Ai-chan said yesterday? It is. Ai-chan also said that the motions of practicing would have caused the tickets to fall out if Karin-san tried to hide them in her clothes. If Karin-san really did print those tickets, I don't doubt she would have wanted to hide them somehow. Could it be possible that the time was adjusted by someone between then and now? No, only staff members can change the settings of the printers nowadays. Huh? Nowadays? Once upon a time, any student could change the time limit before the printer shut itself off if she wanted to. Until some ridiculous prankster thought it would be comical to change the time limit to 2 seconds. Kasumi-chan, is that you? Oh my, we could hardly even navigate to the settings to change it back before the printer shuts off on us. It was awful. Why are you even allowed to go down 2 seconds on that timer? Who the heck is that stingy with power? High-tech my ass. Fortunately, the flash drive quirk I mentioned earlier was what saved us. We plugged a flash drive in, and it had enough time to turn the settings back. What a stupid printer. Remind me to never use it. Ever. What if they ran, like, really fast? Ran? Yeah, let's say they went zoom and got out of there before Karin-san saw them. If that were the case, don't you think the defendant would have heard them, but there was nothing of the sort? Ah, right, my bad. Yu-chan, have you noticed something? There's 2 perspectives that Shiriko-chan's talking about here. What do you mean? Well, first off, Shiriko-chan's talking about the tickets being found under the printer. But not only that, she's also testifying about how any other culprit would have been able to get away in time. However, if you look closely at her testimony, I feel like she's jumped to conclusions about one of those things. See if you can nab her on that. I don't know if this is gonna do much, but clubroom access records maybe? That doesn't make any sense. Why is that? Well, let's take a look at the clubroom access records. According to what we've talked about so far, the defendant went to the printing room between the 2 times she went to the clubroom. That is, between 4:05 and 4:20. The printer was accessed at 4:10, and the defendant dropped her homework off in her bag in the clubroom afterwards. So tell me, if she printed the tickets, why wouldn't she have just dropped them off in the clubroom? Huh, that's a good point. You fool, the obvious reason is because she didn't want to run the risk of bumping into anyone in the hallways or in the clubroom. And how do you know that? Do you have any proof of that? Naturally, it was break time. People always come and go during it. The defendant must have known this. It's a constant of life, just like death and taxes. What on earth are you talking about? This time was no different. Several club members took a trip to the restroom. It's likely that the defendant assumed this and didn't want to take any chances. Yes, this is the opening I've been searching for this whole trial. If that's the case, why haven't these members been questioned? Are you even listening to me? I said restroom. The restroom is nowhere near the printing room. I have already said that the defendant was the only one who headed towards the printing room. If you want to imply that one of the other club members headed towards the printing room, then prove it. She's right. I've got to justify my stance. What's the plan, Yu-chan? Well, I've got to produce some evidence to prove that someone else went to the printing room. It's my only chance. That's not your only option. You've also got testimony. Huh? You mean like calling in a witness? Defense, let's hear what your decision is. What will you do to prove that someone else went towards the printing room? I don't know if I have the evidence, and I don't know if I have a witness.
A few moments later.
I don't think we have any evidence, really, so we have to call in a witness. Now, who's the witness? I don't know, but we're gonna call one. I'd like to call a witness, Your Honor. Let's see, I better avoid calling Rina-chan. She's been thoroughly prepared by Daya-san. This witness testimony will show that there must have been another culprit. Oh, I did not think this through. Should we just do one of the producers?
No!
We could try. Here is my answer. This will show us the truth.
Are you sure about that?
Can you clarify why? Just trust me.
Bruh.
No. Damn, I was hoping that worked if I looked cute enough. Try again, defense. Choose your answer carefully. I-chan, then? Cause we're running out of options, really. Defense calls Miyashita I to the stand. Can you clarify why? Yesterday, upon talking to her, she had said that she had gone to the restroom alongside a few others. Although she made no implication that she or anyone else had headed towards the printing room, the defense would like the opportunity to confirm if this is true. Huh. There are still many unanswered questions in this case. That much is for certain. The court believes that it has a duty to clear up any remaining uncertainties whenever possible. That includes hearing all irrelevant testimonies. Ha! Looks like you'll get to survive a little while longer. Savor it. It won't last long, I can guarantee you on this. You may have reduced our smoking gun into a smoking pile of ashes, but this is just the beginning. I'm about to pull out the heavy artillery, mark my words. Oh, hush. The defense shall be granted the opportunity to cross-examine Miyashita I, but before that, court shall take a recess. We reconvene in 30 minutes. Adjourned. May 13th, 1:14 p.m. Defendant lobby. I'm still in the game, but that's a good sign. Where's Karin-san? I've got a few questions for her too. You called for me? What's the matter? Karin-san, I've got a question for you. Real quick, can you tell us what your motions were like between 4:05 and 4:20? Between the two times you went to the club room? Huh, after I grabbed my flash drive from the club room, I didn't go directly to the printing room. You know how the hallways there are in a big loop? I kinda took a stroll around the entire hallway. Huh? Why? Well, I didn't bring my map with me that day, see? I must have gotten lost along the way. The printing room is 5 meters from the club room. Oops. I really did have no clue where I was. I was taking my sweet time checking out every room to make sure I didn't miss it. Well, at least that explains the time gap. I assume that means the person who printed the tickets went to the printing room before you did? Oh yeah, I remember. The printer was already on when I used it. It must have just finished being used, but like the prosecutor said, I didn't see anyone in or around the printing room. Strange, almost as if they disappeared. If the printer had just finished printing something, was there anything notable in the output tray? Nothing that I can remember. Sorry about that. I suppose the tickets have already been hidden by the time I got there. Thank you. This information comes in handy down the line. Yu-chan, do you think you could turn the case around with what Karin-san told you? To be honest, I'm not sure. Our next task will be to show that someone else went to the printing room. I don't think any of that helps directly except for the time frame. Huh, do you think so? We'll have to see, but I'll definitely keep that in mind. 3 things to remember. First, Karin-san arrived to the printing room later than expected because she went around the entire hallway. Second, when Karin-san arrived, the printer was already on. Third, the tickets weren't in the output tray. They were already gone by the time Karin-san got there. But how could someone have done all that and vanished without a trace? That is a very tough question, and it's to be continued again. Well, anyways, guys, I'm gonna leave this part here. Wow, crazy trial. We're gonna figure out who the culprit is, hopefully in the next part, because oh my god. Anyways, guys, thank you all so much for watching, and I guess I will see you all next time in another Gyakuten live video, or whatever I make next. Goodbye for now.